During this episode, we're going to talk about the rental market and how long it usually takes for your house to be on the market and what you can do to lease that beautiful home of yours. If you have any questions after this, please go to www.rpmluxury.com. Welcome to High-End Homes Handled Right. This is the Real Property Management Luxury Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Lindell Johnson. You know, I see a lot of clients who are in deep need to get their house leased. Their house maybe they were using another property management company and they believe that the house should have been leased already and they just don't know what to do. So let's dig into this and let's come up with ways to help you to lease that beautiful house of yours. In comparison to last year, leasing is now slower than it was than last year and close to what it was in 2023. Many things can add to this reason why leasing is slower, but we have to control what we can control. And what I mean by that is certain things are in your hands and you definitely can to impact how fast your home is leased. So let's say your home has been on the market for, let's say now we're going on 4 weeks, 5 weeks. The worst thing you can possibly do at this point is to just drop the price, because there's a chance that the price isn't the problem. If the price isn't the problem, there's got to be something else. So the very last thing you want to do is just run and drop that price, because once again, that's most likely not needed. Some of the things that you can do is really redo your market analysis. That's the first thing you really should do. Look at the properties around your house, compare it to the amount of bedrooms, square footage of your house, and see if your rent is higher than the rest of the market, which is possible. The second thing you need to do is if you're using Zillow or if you're using any other site to actually market your property, double check that it's actually on that site. I've heard many clients basically coming into our office and saying, hey, we've been on Zillow for months now and we're not getting any showings. Then when I go and I look up their property, I find out the property is not even on Zillow, or maybe I have to go so many pages down the line just to find that property that, that's probably why that property is not leasing. You have to really think as if you're a prospective tenant. You log on to the website, you may look at the pictures and you're going to look at the price, or, you're then going to go through the site and you're going to look and you're going to try to find the house that you love. How many people are going to go 6 pages down or more to find a house? Most likely your house is not going to be found. So that's the second thing you need to do. Get on there, look for your house, make sure that your house is being shown. Now, some packages are offered by Zillow to, get premium, like a premium package where you get on that first page. If that's what you would like to do, then do so. The third thing you need to do is look at your pictures. How is your property being shown online? Are you seeing dead grass? Are you going through the rooms on the pictures and you see like the floors look dirty, or the pictures are really grayed out, the color doesn't look good? It's worth the money to find a photographer that could take great pictures of your house. You're trying to lease. People may not have time to get in their car and to look at your property until they really know at this point, this is the property I want and it's the property I need. So before they even get to you, they're looking at pictures. So the pictures need to pop. Those pictures need to be beautiful. They have to look at your pictures and imagine themselves in that bedroom, imagine themselves taking using that bathtub. They come home from a long day at work and they go in that shower and they go to that table and they can imagine feeding their kids in that room. And this is a big investment for them. So make sure those pictures look good. Now, if the pictures don't look good, maybe the house is actually dated, and maybe the living room and the kitchen, all those other rooms really don't look good. Maybe this is where you go to the next step, which is actually going to your house, Do a tour of your house as if you're a prospective tenant and look for things that may be outdated. Look for how it looks. Does it look clean? Make sure that if it's outdated, take your time to maybe, change the paint color. Make sure it's, you have the crown molding in the house. It's painted and everything looks good. Make sure the grass is cut. And I make that, I'll say it again. Make sure the grass is cut. You couldn't imagine how many homes that are for lease right now that if you go to the house looks like a jungle. Okay, you do not want this to happen, because here's another thing. Even if a prospective tenant, let's say they ignore that grass, how the lawn looks, and they actually go to a showing at your house, when they look at that lawn, they're going to think, hey, this owner doesn't take care of this house. So what are they going to think in their mind? They're going to think, hey, I'm going to have issues in this house. And if I call for maintenance issues, this owner is not going to care about my request, because they don't even take the time to take care of their lawn, which is what, $30 a week, $35 a cut or something like that. So if they're not going to do that for their own property that they're trying to lease, how are they going to treat this property when I'm there? So you have to think like that. So just because you're not living at the property, still maintain that lawn probably better than you had it when you were there living in the house. And so now you've got good pictures. You are sure that this house is on a secondary site, a marketing site like Zillow or one of these other sites, homes.com. You've got that checked. Pictures look good. It's on the site. You went to the house and you've updated the paint. The paint color looks good. It's not some purple colors in the house, but it looks like colors that tenants would want to most likely have, neutral colors. That looks good. So if you have all those things, then once again, go back and then look at the market. Market looks right. You're not overpriced. You're right in that spot. Now you can talk about maybe doing something with your price or possibly giving a concession. But do not do that until all those other steps are taken care of. And here's something that you should also think about: the time of year that you're leasing this property. In previous podcasts that we've had, previous episodes, we've talked about how leasing ebbs and flows throughout the season. So whereas you could say May, June, July, it's your hot season. Families want to move in, have their children registered for school prior to school beginning. When school starts, that's the decline. So now you've got school begins possibly maybe in August, September, October. Now you're getting into the time when people are planning for the holidays. They're saving their money up for Thanksgiving. They're saving their money for those Christmas gifts. Who wants to move during Christmas holiday? So if you're trying to sell, or should I say lease your house during this period, just know it most likely is going to be slower than it would have been if you tried to lease it in the hot periods, the summer months. It doesn't mean that your house is not going to be leased. People always need a home. No matter what time of year, people are always going to want to live somewhere, and they're going to need a home. It's just not as many people are willing to move during this time of year. So knowing that, we're not going to talk about possible concessions. You can do a moving concession, or you can just drop the price. There's moving concessions. For example, you can say $500 off first month's rent. You're giving away $500 concession. You're taking off $500. That may help. Or you can say, we'll waive the application fee. Here's something that I've seen happen too. You can also, another idea is you give a 15-month lease, but you give off 1 year of free months rent on a 15-month lease, or 2 months free rent on a 15-month lease. And the only way that the tenant can use this free month is if they pay rent on time 2 months consecutive. So they'll have to do the first 2 months, for example, they paid on time. Then they can use the free rent for that 1 month on the third month. Then they pay on time rent for month 4 and 5 on time. And then month 6 is they use that free rent. Something like that, where, it motivates the tenant, especially if at this time they're really money conscious and they're thinking about their family and the cost it takes to move, and then they have to pay the deposit. This is something that you may want to offer. Another thing is that deposit. Maybe they don't have the money to be able to pay for the first month's rent, all their moving expenses, plus the deposit. Now, there are companies like Obligo that, they'll offer the tenants can pay their deposit, like parts of the deposit every month, instead of having to pay that traditional, deposit up front. That is an option, but there are different companies that offer that. You'll just have to look that up, but that is something that you can also offer to your tenant. But at this point, you can definitely, there's just so many different ways where you can waive a fee or give a concession, because you really need to think about, is this concession I'm giving worth my house still being on the market throughout the whole winter season? Is it worth just give that concession, have someone move in, and now you at least have some money coming in from that property? And once again, the very last thing is just to drop that price. You can lower that price to get someone in, and then consider how you're going to increase, during renewal. Now, here's what I warn you about. Do not lower your price so far under the market where you'll never reach the market when you do a renewal. Most renewals, the increase is about 3 to 5%. If you can't reach the market or go above the market within, during that renewal period, then you're way too low. You're too low. So you really need to think about that. You should have a bottom price. You should have a price that you think you're going to get, and you have to have a price, rental amount that you would love to get. So you've got options. Okay, so make sure that you just don't dip below your bottom rent amount, whatever that is. If that's $2,500, don't rent it lower than that, and then next thing you know, you're stuck, and basically you're always under the market. And then when you have a renewal, you're probably going to say, you know what, I'm not going to renew this person because we're too far under. Now, here's another thing that you should think about. This goes back to the timing of when your house is going to be available. If you rent it, let's say in December, and that lease is going to expire in December, it's going to put you in that next problem all over again next year. So instead of doing a year lease, possibly do an 18-month lease or 15-month lease or something that gets you, when that tenant's rent expires, that lease expires, you'll have them there, a house that is vacant during the hot season. So think about that as well. Once again, this is Lindell Johnson. It's High-End Homes Handled Right, the Real Property Management Luxury Podcast. Thank you for your time.